Podcast 3. One mistake can cost you your whole career. Stay in your lane, CNA. That's right. You do only what you're supposed to do. Some things you can do without a problem, but it would be difficult to come out of. So we're talking about don't let anybody pressure you into doing something that's outside the scope of your job. If you think it's out of the scope of your job, go ask the nurse. Ask your nurse that's on the hall with you. She'll tell you. If not, and she doesn't know, go ask the DON, the director of nursing, and you can find out if this is something that is within the purview, within the scope of your job. Uh, I can tell you, some CNAs will. Uh, I can tell you a story. I had a CNA. She didn't know that I had worked there afternoon shift for quite some time, weeks. But I'm also experienced CNA. I've been a CNA for 13 years. She didn't know this. So she comes in, she gets the board and sees where everybody is working, and then she's going to change it. And she comes to me and she says, "These are your rooms. The rooms on the book, in the book, are my rooms." She cannot create another couple of people in my hallway. And I promptly let her know that that is not the case. And I'm working the rooms there on the board. And we can go talk to the nurse if there's a problem. That's the first time that ever happened to me. The very first time, I couldn't believe it. Going to change the rooms and give you a couple of extra people so they don't have anything to do. And this is night shift. What is there to do except change people, or someone falls out of bed, or helping the nurse? It can get very tricky sometimes. Very, very tricky. The thing about the next thing I like to talk about are the warrior lifts. Excuse me. The warrior lifts require two people. Don't go in a room and lift somebody by yourself. You'll lose your job. Make sure you have two people in the room with the warrior to assist you. You know why? That warrior tip over on you. And now the resident is injured and you're injured as well. So don't do that. You make sure there are two people in the room. There's a young lady in Indiana, I believe. You can search it, but she used the Hoyer by herself. And the resident fell out the sling and died because she hit her head. And that resident and that CNA was charged. You don't want that to happen to you. That's very serious. Now you've stepped out of CNA, nursing home, facility world into the real world of adjudication. Now you're charged with something. So don't make sure you have someone with you when you transfer with the Warrior. It is required, and no facility can force you. So the next thing I want to talk about, girl, medications. The nurse will put the medications in a little pill cup and set it on the dinner tray at dinner time and walk away. And then tell you, when you're feeding them, give them their medicine. That's not my job. I'm real nervous about administering medicine that I don't have the clearance to do. It's not within the scope of my job. I'm a CNA. I'm not here to give out pills. That's what you're here for, the nurse. Don't do it. It's just it just makes a mess of things. You can't decide what kind of medicine to give the person. They might ask you for something else. You got to go in the card and identify it, see if they can have it. See if they can have it when they ask for it. See if they can have it only 6 hours apart. That's nothing that you would know about. Nothing. Don't do it. Don't give out medications. Oh, the biggie for me, the lesson I learned, uh, coloscopy bags, you can clean them out. It's gross, I know, but it's the nature of our business. You can clean them out, but you cannot replace them. So if you come in contact with someone with a coloscopy bag, it's very easy to clean them out. If it's thick or something, just add some water in there, it'll loosen up and it'll pour out like soup. That's probably not a good description, but it will. Just make sure you do not replace it. I got caught trying to replace a coloscopy bag, and I got written up, reprimanded, close to being fired. It was the next infraction, I'm out the door. I was green, new to being a CNA, but you know, it never left my mind. And then they put a sign up in that room. Do not change the coloscopy bag. And the last one I want to talk to you about, because I've worked in a facility where they have the tracheotomies, the trachs, fit right here. So they get full and they have suctions. Don't you suction the trach. That's way out of your scope of your duties. Don't do it. If that person chokes or they've got some other tube or something down there and you pull that out, you don't know if that suction is sterile or not, or you need to sterilize it before you put it on a human being. Don't do that. Don't do that. That is the nurse's job. Wound care. They have what you call wound care nurses. They go around on certain days and they check the wounds. They know who have bed sores or some other kind of wound um, from injury or something like that. But they decide, the nurse decides. The nurse, the wound care nurse, that's what she's called, the wound care nurse. She decides how they're going to treat that wound. Now, you can assist them in holding the patient up if the patient needs to be held up, but don't you touch that wound. You let that wound care nurse take care of that. She might ask you to hold some tape. She might even ask you to hold a patch. That's fine. That's bandages. But don't touch that resident. All you need is the wrong person to be in the room with you and see you touch a resident or come in the room with you to help you change somebody and you touch a wound. That you're in trouble. As a professional, we don't do those things. Last but not least, feeding tubes. You may have seen feeding tubes when you went to training that week before you finish your CNA certification class. They take you to a facility, rehab facility to get a feel of what you're doing. I never really got a feel of what I was doing because I was so nervous because you don't want to do anything wrong. These are seniors. And so it was okay. They got used to being in a facility, I guess. Uh, but feeding tubes, That's a huge no-no. Feeding tubes are in a person's body, but they're hooked up to a machine, and then the food is up here. You don't know anything about that machine. The nurse can come in, pause it, and stop the food from going through. She can come in, when it alarms and it's empty, the nurse can come in there. But you should not touch that. That is a no-no. If the alarm is going off, you go find your nurse and you tell her, and you can tell her repeatedly, nicely, that the alarm is going off. If she's busy and says, I'm coming, then you let the resident know she'll be here in a moment. You don't try to fix it yourself because you're annoyed with the sound or the resident is annoyed with the sound. Because if you do, you could be going home that afternoon. Don't touch the feeding tubes. Now, here we're going to talk about Foley's. Yeah, Foley's. They hang on the side of the bed. It's like a hanger that hangs on the side of the bed. So you have to look for that tube going down the person's leg to see what side you're going to hang this Foley on, what side of the bed. And on the side of the bed, there are usually bags, navy blue or black, that the Foley can set in. So you want to put your Foley in there. More important than that, you want to make sure your Foley is empty, because that's one of the notes that you're going to need to take. Because when you do point click, when you start doing your documentation, there's going to be a question of how much was in that Foley. So that's something you need to know. Also, when you're getting a person dressed with a Foley, make sure it's off the side of the bed where it's hanging, because if you don't, you'll pull that Foley out. And now the nurse has to come and put it back in. And they don't necessarily want to do that. That's a kind of a big thing in a facility. So you want to get your Foley off the side of the bed. You see what the tube is on his right leg. When you put his pants on, you take that Foley and you put it first. Before you put his leg in, you get that Foley through that pants leg. And then you bring it down and put the pants on his leg. So you can have it in the right place. And it's not uncomfortable for the resident when they're sitting in their wheelchairs and moving around. You don't want that to be uncomfortable. Um, I just thought another one. Oxygen. Oxygen machines. They're machines that have oxygens in them, but they're also actual oxygen tanks that you have to fill. Now, that's something we have to do. We have to fill these oxygen tanks. Talking about a nervous person, because people smoking and you don't, there's all kinds of things going on. So you got to go in the special room. Allergies are really bad today. Excuse me, I am going to clear my throat. It's a small closet. And their oxygen tanks as tall as I am, like 4 feet tall. And they're oxygen tanks that are portable. They ride on a wheelchair. The smaller ones, the portable ones, are the ones you fill. The taller ones are the oxygen. You fill the portable ones up, and these are the ones we use. And it takes some getting used to be confident in filling up an oxygen tank. So when you fill one up, you want to make sure you go check with a nurse or you check with a coworker who is willing to help you and see if you have enough oxygen in that tank. You don't want a resident to be short of breath because you didn't fill the tank up enough. Um, what else can I think of? You know what? Families. Never tell a family what you think is wrong with their loved one. You're not a doctor. You can't diagnose. You don't know what's going on. Never talk to the families in that manner. Talk to them about the happy times there with their loved one. This is their loved one. Because soon as you say something bad about them, that loved one is gonna turn on you to say something bad about you. They wanna look good in their loved one's eyes. And trust me, they're in this facility. Their loved ones know all about their behavior. They know all about it. So, you just want to observe and, be there to assist the nurses when they need to be assisted. So, you don't want to look at something and say, "I think she got pneumonia." No, you don't. You don't know. And don't say that in front of families. That's so private. So, you just wanna be observant. That's our greatest strength. Uh, we see things. We're the first ones to see any injury or any change in behavior, attitude, or emotion. So, try to be diligent on that particular subject. Um, Another thing, you're gonna get training, CNA training, from facilities telling you about, abuse and the different types of abuse there are. Um, there are several different types of abuse that are put upon seniors, and it can be verbal abuse. And this is a big one to me. The way you talk to the seniors, they are to be respected. Emotional abuse, you need some empathy so that you can kind of relate to what they're feeling. Physical abuse, don't you hit a resident. Don't, if they're physical, they're aging. You know what my dad used to say all the time? My dad used to say, once a man, twice a child. I say that all the time because as you age, you regress back into childlike behavior. So, but the behavior is different. You don't want to change as you age. You don't want anything to change. It upsets you. So if you go in a resident's room and you changing something, they're going to get upset. So you want to have a little empathy if you can. You got to be able to relate to their emotions. It's emotional for you to move my table over there. It's emotional. That's your sister from my family. Why are you moving it? You know how that is. People want things a certain way. There's neglect. That's a form of abuse. Not going in there and checking. The brief every 2 hours. Those are called rounds. You do a round every 2 hours. You make sure your residents stay dry on your watch. And sometimes there's some residents that they will have to go to the bathroom several times. But you know the ones that are heavy wetters, and you will deal with that and keep them dry accordingly. Bullying, we had that at the last facility I worked at. The residents bullying, big resident is bullying young lady, and he's just calling her names, and it just upsets her and makes her cry. And he doesn't care. He just abuses her. He just calls all kinds of names. They've talked to him, and he doesn't care. Eventually, if he doesn't get himself together, he may have to go to another facility. Uh, Rough handling. Oh, this is a big one. Don't rough handle your residents. You're trying to put a shirt on, you pulling in, you're trying to get the shirt in, you can't get the elbow in, and you pushing it in. You know, they're like babies. Their skin is thin. They're fragile. Their bones are thin as well. You know, they can break a bone. You don't know which one has any type of arthritis or whatever. But you don't want to be rough. pushing them over, pulling up their pants. They might say that hurts. You're not paying attention. Just turn over. That's no way to be. You cannot threaten a resident. You made a mistake in the room. If you tell my supervisor, I'm gonna, no, you're not. That's abuse. That's abuse. If you threaten, well, what you're gonna do because they report you. Oh, here's a big one. This is very important to me. Do not humiliate these residents. These are people who are aging. Quiet as his cat. Don't tell nobody. You're aging too. God willing, you're going to be where they are. You may not be living in a facility. You may not be as ill. You may not have the problems that they have, but you're going to be somewhere aging. And when you're in your 20s, you feel like I'm going to live forever, but you're not. And being observant and watching the aging process, that's some amazing stuff. I'm going to cough again. The allergies here are terrible, but I want to get this podcast out. I want to practice and make sure that my podcasts get better and better. And these are things I'm very passionate about. I love being a CNA. I'm retired now, but I love it. You cannot humiliate a resident. Don't talk down to a resident. Don't tell any private information the resident may have pulled you aside and told you. Don't spread that resident's gossip or their information. Because if you tell one other resident, it's going to go all over the facility because they don't have anything else to do but talk. And all they need is new information. All they need is new information. And then that's you. Now you're written up. Because you're not supposed to talk around the residents. But if you're talking to the residents and they're divulging secret information, try to be respectful. Just try to be respectful and hold their secret with you. You just need to tell one person and everything will be out in the open. I'm very passionate about the way you talk to seniors. And I've been in this business 13 years on that floor, and I've never seen it so bad as I have in this last year. CNAs out here cussing, not in the rooms, but at the nurses' station. They dress any kind of way. They look any kind of way. I was out all night. They come in with the pants they wore last night and put a scrub top on and go to work. I've never seen anything like it. And they talk to the residents. Oh my goodness. My mother and my father would beat me to the white meat if they knew that I talked to a senior that way. Don't let yourself get so stressed out in this job. I have what you call burnout. I'm retired now, and I can tell you that I'm 70 years old. I'm retired. It's time to get off that floor. I have my own issues. But don't allow stress to get the best of you at work. Don't make it an excuse. I've done it. Don't make it an excuse why you talk to the resident the way you did. You must be mindful. Is that what they call it? Mindful. You must be mindful at work. And when you're with a resident, depending on where they are, that tells you how to talk to them. You can be firm, but you don't have to be nasty. Uh, the other thing that you don't want to do that can cost you is doing your documentation and saying everything that they want you to say. If you didn't do something, don't mark it down. Don't mark it down that the person pooped and they didn't. Don't mark down, definitely don't mark down you gave a shower and you didn't. That cost my coworker. That cost my coworker big. He told the he told the administrator that he had given somebody in the shower and the state was there. And she went into the room and asked the man, did he get a shower? He told the truth. He said no. And the CNA got fired on the spot because pretty much lied. I said, strong word, but that's, and that's the fastest way to lose your job. And if she reports it, he's going to lose his license. So don't do documentation or say you did something when you didn't. Make sure you get those shower sheets in those notebooks. Because if you don't put a shower sheet in the notebook, it says you didn't give the shower. That's not to say they can't go ask the resident, but you didn't get a shower if that sheet is not in the notebook. And, you want to try to remember that. When you're charting, chart just what you did. If you're unsure about what you should chart, there are experienced CNAs all around you. Find one that will help you, and you can ask them. You'll get the hang of it. It takes 3 to 4 weeks, and you get the hang of charting. But if you falsify information in there, it may alarm uh, the doctors and nurses that something else could be wrong with the resident. So we need you to be truthful. We need you not to put something in there that is not the truth. You know, I know you know, that you don't punch in for anybody. If you don't punch in for anybody and you know that, that's a no-brainer when you go to work. Everybody now knows that you don't punch in for anybody, but you also don't sign out. Don't sign out, don't sign any documents. Um, Susan, sign that document for me. Sign that in service for me. I'll be right back. I'm going to the store. No, don't sign it for them. Their signature. If they catch you signing in service paperwork and that would have you for your girlfriend or your coworker, it's a huge problem. Pretty much, excuse me, pretty much gone. That's it. You cannot do somebody else's work like that. What's important out of all of this that I've given you, these are things I didn't know that I learned on the floor working with CNAs who taught me these things. Um, I was taught these things and I'm trying to share them with you. Um, I need something to do. This is my passion, and why not share? Here's the thing to do though. Every facility gives you a handbook. You don't have to read it all, but go to those discipline pages, find out what the discipline is for being a bully, for threatening somebody, see what it is. And if you don't have a union, excuse me, if you don't have a union, you're going to have to take it. You can get fired immediately. No process. At will employment. I carried my handbook in my book bag. I bought a book bag so that I could carry my handbook with me every day. If anything happened, I go to my locker and I go pull out that book. I go to the bathroom and pull out the book and read to see if this is something I may have violated, if it's something somebody else has, somebody violated me. So the handbook also tells you what the employer expects of, because if you got experience, you got more than 6 years experience, the employer expects that uh, what is expected of you. But don't be so sure, and they shouldn't be either. Read the handbook about your duties. It's a job description in the handbook. Read that. Read about getting written up and how quickly you can lose your job. That handbook explains uh, things like what happens when you miss 3 days in a row of work? What happens when you don't work on your weekend? What happens if somebody is abusing a resident? How do you report that? What happens? What happens when somebody falls? Man, people fall. You tell them not to get up, you put them in bed, and they get up anyway, and then they fall. So, you need to handle, because if you were supposed to be near that resident or with that resident and they fail, you might get written up. So, uh, that handbook is handy for those types of things. So, just knowing the policy and the rules will help. It's going to help you so you know what to avoid, so that you don't have unnecessary problems. Your problems are few because you know what's going on in that handbook. If someone asks you to do something that doesn't seem right, don't be scared to ask questions. I ask questions all the time. I'm probably apologetic about it, but I ask them all the time. You can say, wait a minute, let me go check the policy first. If somebody asks you to help them, or can you help me understand if that's within my role? Help me understand if this is my job. Tell me where that is. There's nothing wrong with protecting your certification. You should protect your certification, and also protecting the resident. Remember, being a professional CNA isn't just about working hard. It's about working safely, ethically, and within your training. Knowledge is one of the best forms of protection you can have. Read your handbook, know your policies, know your responsibilities, know your rights, and never ever be afraid to speak up on your own behalf, especially if something doesn't feel right. Trust your instincts. Something don't feel right. This don't feel right. She asked me to do this. Let me go check. I got to check it out. And I'm just sharing these things because these are things I have experienced on the floor. I've been in the trenches, and I have 13 years experience. Always remember this. Just because someone asks you to do something doesn't mean you should. Your certification represents your integrity. Stay within your training. Ask questions. Protect your residents. Protect your career. I'm TaMorie Sanders, JD, CNA, Professional CNA Foundations. Thank you, and until next time.